Hey, everybody, welcome to the Be Your Own Hero podcast. Thanks for joining me again. I'm your host, Brittany Renew, fantasy author and entrepreneur. And today I have with me Kelly Moser. He is the founder and CEO of Moser Movement. Kelly offers high performance coaching for real estate agents and entrepreneurs, and he really helps them move their butt, which we will get into that acronym into the show. I'm so excited to dive into this topic. But the move your butt mindset is really about taking a goal, removing the negative, limiting beliefs, all those excuses that we throw on ourselves, get rid of those so that you can pursue your goals and your dreams. So, welcome, Kelly. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, let's dive into you sharing a little bit more about your background to give the audience some context of how you started your company.
Sure, yeah. So I guess without the long, boring hero's journey story that you're like, okay, here we go again. Really short and to the point, I grew up traditionally with a societal expectation that goals should be something like go to school, get married, contribute to a 401, buy a house, get a good job and climb the corporate ladder. Like that was kind of success criteria. That was the main focus.
Mhm.
And did that and climbed the ladder, so to say, and didn't find the joy, fulfillment, happiness, all that stuff at the top of the ladder. I was fortunate enough to get to the top of my ladder in that particular industry and just didn't. I don't know. This sounds like, a quarter life crisis kind of scenario where you're like, woe is me. But really, I fought really hard and worked really hard and got into a position where I was making a lot of money and I had the title and I had the team and I was getting to travel the world and all this stuff that makes me sound like an ungrateful turkey, right? But at the same time, I'm there and I'm still having those conversations with myself. They're like, this, there's got to be more to this. Like, what's going on here? Why do I feel this way? All those kind of internal narrative kind of questions. And so that kind of sparked the spiritual journey or whatever label you want to put on it. And just kind of fell into personal development. And then I saw so many changes in my life, like in a short amount of time, right? I went from starting my day with a cigarette, a honey bun, and a Pepsi to, meditating and exercise and, running my own business, which is
Yeah.
absurd, right? It's absurd to think about that level of change in, a relatively short amount of time, right?
Yeah. But that's the beauty of life. I mean, we can have those defining moments like what you're talking about and then choose to make a change and choose happiness, and choose whatever that like you obviously went through that journey of figuring out, okay, this level of success is what the world is telling me success is supposed to be, but this isn't fulfilling. So what is it that makes me happy? What is it that, I view success as? And then you were able
Well,
to pursue
that
that.
comes later, I think. I think in the beginning, at least for me, it's like, what's wrong with me? Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's that, you know, no one else has these thoughts. I'm on an island by myself, all that stuff. Like
Yeah.
defining success, that was like deep into, maybe I'm a slow learner, but from the beginning, when it first happened, it's like, what's going on? I,
Yeah.
all these people that I look up to, and I'm not throwing shade, but, all the people around me, that's like, this is what success looks like. So what's wrong with me that I don't see this as success? Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. No, I mean, I'm glad that you highlighted that because I think that is a step on the journey to get from like where, where you were to kind of where you are now is, yeah, I think we do go through those thoughts of like, am I crazy? Am I alone in feeling this way? And
Mm.
the truth is you're not. You're not the only one and you will not be the only one, in the future that has those moments in time, and we have to, I guess it's the awareness that then pops up at that point, and then you start kind of getting out there and searching. So how would you say, like, how did you, what was that prompt? Did you start researching things? Did you, get in contact
I
with a mentor or anything like that?
I was in a room where we had a speaker come in, Now, granted, I went from $9 an hour in a sanitation worker in these machines in manufacturing, cleaning and taking them apart, to director of food safety and quality. Right, like that's the through line.
Wow.
And so I
Hmm.
found myself in rooms where they would have a speaker come in and just this kind of personal development. And one of the things that stuck out was this, he called it green track, black track thinking, which, green track is more of your positive, black track is more of your self deprecating and negative. And it was for the first time it had kind of clicked. It's like, okay, I'm in control of this a little bit. And so that was
Mm.
kind of the spark or the genesis of it. And then, honest to God, I went to YouTube and would type in morning motivation and listen to the compilation videos of all the gurus. And I just would feel myself getting fired up. And I saw my language change. I saw the way that I acted change, like the internal narrative change. And so that's really kind of the spark. But what sparked the move your butt movement was I find myself in one of those, it's a hotel. It's like a Hilton hotel. There's a ballroom. There's a guru
Hmm.
speaker in there. I'm outside the front door waiting for like 1,000 people to go in. And right beside of me was a guy, and we're kind of talking, and I'm giving him my story, and everything I would say, yeah, I got this good job, but there's got to be more to this, and I really want more for my life and my family, but and I need to get in better shape, but and I just kept saying it, but I didn't really realize, and he kind of very coachly and stoic-y said, well, what do you think you should do, Kelly? And before the filter kicked in, I said, I guess I need to move my butt. And like his eyes got big and my eyes got big. I like it's one of these Lifetime movies where this
Yeah.
guardian angel. I have no idea who this guy is. I have no idea if he even existed. Like this could have been a figment of my imagination. Uh, but it was one of those things where he looked at me and I looked at him, and he was like, "You need to write some things down, don't you?"
Yeah.
And then like
Classic,
disappear. The
right?
door's open, and I'm like back there like scribbling, business plan from there kind of thing, just kind of just pouring my word vomit onto a page. And so that's the real genesis for the Move My Butt. It comes from a place of my own butts, and
Mm.
so more buttoned or more pointed. It's that those excuses, limiting beliefs, and the negative self talk that we use to keep ourselves from achieving those goals. It's I want a deep, loving, connecting relationship with my significant other, but happily ever after doesn't happen for people like me. Or I want to grow my business to this crazy amount, but you know I'm not good enough for success. Or people where I'm from, with my background, with my experience, with my trauma, they don't achieve success.
Mm.
So to as little as I want to get up earlier, but
He's giving me a look.
but
We had this exact conversation.
yeah. So butts come in all forms and shapes and sizes, right? But it's just we're all guilty. We're all human. We all have these butts in our lives, no matter how that manifests in your own life.
Yeah, definitely. I can definitely attest to that. But I love to hear that story about the person that you were talking to, and it was like that light bulb moment of move your butt. That's such a unique way to have that like epiphany. And
Mm,
I can just envision you like, standing there like typing into your phone, to like not lose the thoughts as they
yeah.
happen. That's so cool.
Yeah, I got that, and I went to buy the domain. I was like LegalZoom LLC. I did. I was like jotting all those notes down. Yeah, and then here we are, almost 10 years later.
That's cool. Awesome. Well, actually, I don't think we've talked about the acronym
Yeah.
just yet. So, share the acronym
Okay.
for Move Your.
So if you're listening now and you have the analytical process brain, this is we're going to nerd out here for a minute because that's the way that I kind of operate. I follow recipes, right?
Mhm.
I'm okay with coloring outside the lines. I'm okay with adding or taking away ingredients as they need, but I need that basic do this, right?
Mhm.
Because if I
The
leave it up,
foundation.
I need that foundation, because if I leave it up to me, like it's a junk drawer of thought at any given time up here. Like it's just and then shiny quarter, and then you're just going in a million different directions. And so the foundation or the pillar of it, that acronym BUT, for those of you that thought it was two T's, BUT, it's believe, understand, and take. Believe, understand, and take. And I believe and have used this process to overcome those beliefs. I'm not eliminating the buts, right? I'm just moving them. I would much rather you have bigger and grander buts right on down the road. But if we break that down, belief, because the lens in which you see the world, it is based on your belief system, right? Who you've
Mhm.
been, who you are, and who you will be is a result of your belief system, right? It keeps us in
Yeah.
fear. It motivates us to go after it. I mean, some silly examples are like Santa Claus. Those of you with Santa Claus age children, when it's that time of the year, November, you're like, hey, Santa's watching. And the kid, straightens up, postures up, stops doing whatever you wanted them to do, because they believe that that's true. My mother used to say, hey, after you eat your sandwich, you have to sit beside the pool for 30 minutes. Otherwise, something bad will happen, right?
Yeah.
No one in the history of humanity has ever died from eating a banana sandwich or a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and jumping into a swimming pool. Like that doesn't happen. But the beliefs are funny like that because they don't have to be true or factual. Your truth, right? It's your truth, but it may not be the truth. And so, for example, you might believe that your sports team is the best thing ever, so much so that you'll get into a physical altercation with another person just because their jersey is a different color. Like that's the
Yeah.
power of beliefs, and we can extrapolate that into a million different directions. But for our own lives, just knowing that what you believe shows up in the way that you act, right? If you
Yeah.
believe that you're not good enough for a healthy relationship, you won't even try, right? You'll just sit over here and bitch and moan about it, right? But
Yeah.
if you believe that it's possible, if you believe that success is possible for you, then you'll start to then and only then can the doors of possibilities open up, right?
Yeah.
So the belief, and beliefs can be shifted in a lot of different ways, right? You can shift it via a perspective or a new piece of information or a traumatic or dramatic event, right? In my own life, my sister was diagnosed with glioblastoma. It's a brain cancer, and they told us from the very beginning that it would be the cause of death, right? So no one it bats 1,000, right? No one beats this thing. And so, diagnosed at 16 and dead just shy of 20, right? So my alarm clock now, so in the beginning, after that happened, it was a lot of like, screw you, God, and a lot of resentment, a lot of anger, a lot of, grief, poorly
Yeah.
grieving. But now, like, my alarm clock says, Mary did not get today. You do. And so I've attached the belief to something as simple as getting out of bed. It's impossible for me to hit the snooze button if I've got that level of belief tied to it, right? Just as one example. And so if
Yeah.
you're in the camp of, belief, oh yeah, it's a little woo woo, or it's a little, whatever, like sit with that a second, because that belief's not serving you either. And so, anyway, beliefs can be, shifted or moved in a lot of different directions based on perspective or new information, or, things like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think what's coming up for me is like the word identity, the identity that we have for ourselves. So the example you just shared, you change your identity and you're no longer someone who hits the snooze button, in that
Mm,
example.
for sure.
So I think I've read, a lot of people have read Atomic Habits, such a great book. And that's something that is a theme in that book where, changing the stories that we tell ourselves, changing the identity around whatever these habits are to be able to help you get past those roadblocks. And I think to your point of getting to that root of your belief system of why, why do you have, say you have a limiting belief around that I'm not good enough to achieve, this level of success, which I can attest to that was, and not to say I've arrived and I never struggle with that anymore, but that was a big barrier for me in years past. And I had to do some serious internal work to work through that belief system and try to flip the language. And you kind of mentioned that earlier. So before we get into the you and understand, what are some examples for people to be able to kind of flip that language and change that belief system?
Love it. I'll give you two questions, and I want you to write these down. If you're listening and you're struggling in this area, and we're resonating with you, I want you to ask two very specific questions. It's, what belief do I need to adopt to achieve my goal? Right? What belief do I need to adopt? There's a belief that I need. I need to believe that I am worthy of love. I need to believe that I am good enough for success. I need to believe that I can lose the weight. I need to believe on and on and on, right? There's a belief that you need to adopt. And then on the opposite side of that, what belief do I need to let go of in order to achieve my goals? So just asking
Mhm.
those two questions gives you a place, like this could be your Genesis moment, right? There's a belief that I can't repair the relationship with my mother-in-law because she is da 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 da, whatever, right? And if I'm able to let go of that, on top of adopting the belief that, hey, we're all human and we do human things, maybe that's a place that you can start from. Like one of the
Mm.
one of the core principles that I try to operate from, and I'm thinking about this more and more because I have a 2.5 year old, so I'm trying to be, the dad that models the way. One of those is I try to operate from understanding before a position of right and wrong, right? Because it's like,
Mm.
you're wearing a red shirt. I'm on the blue team, right? Right and wrong, or political
Yeah.
side, or whatever it is, whatever it is. But if at first I can say, let me try to understand what you believe and why you believe it, and let's have a conversation. I think that's a better way to do that. So ask those two questions: what do you need to adopt, and what belief do you need to let go of? And I think that will give someone, and then just give yourself permission to just word vomit onto a page,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Just dump everything there. No one's gonna see it. No one's looking over. Like when I first started journaling, I wrote as if someone would read this one day.
Yeah. Legible, really legible handwriting and all that.
Yeah, and I'm like, I
Nice and
can't, I
pretty.
can't write that. That's too vulnerable. I can't write that. That's too true. I can't write that. It's gonna get me in trouble, you know. But anyway,
Yeah. Yeah. Journaling is such a great practice. I started, I would say in probably about 2019 is when I got in, learned some of these, different ways of thinking and flipping perspective. And I started adopting a morning routine with journaling and affirmations to help me like get through that. So yeah, definitely highly recommend journaling. And I think it's just, like you said, word vomit. Just get it all out of your head because your head's a scary place to be and get it all on paper. And then when you see that, you're like, oh, that doesn't actually make logical sense when I look at it, on a piece of paper. So why am I doing this to myself? Okay, let's flip that. So yeah, and I love the two questions. That's a great way for someone to walk through that.
yeah.
So okay, so on to you. Understand.
You is understand, and I want you to understand your in capital letters, your definition of success, and then
Mm-hmm.
that lets you understand the skills required to achieve it. So this is kind of a two-parter. First things first, you need to write down, another brain dump journal exercise. What does success look like to you? Right? Robin Williams, I use this example a lot. Robin Williams, who we've all seen, we all love, killed himself, right? So if it was about fame and fortune and everyone loving you and trophies and all that other stuff, right? like that's a very stark example, and I hate to go there, but it's really sobering because we all are guilty at some point of chasing someone else's definition of success. Your mother
Hmm.
says you need to do this, right? Your friend circle says, hey, this is what that's what people, they buy a jet ski and they're like, man, this thing sucks, right? It's like all my friends have jet skis, now I have one and I can't wait to get rid of this thing. Like I have friends that have had that story. It's just one
Yeah.
silly example, but really defining what success looks like. And I really challenge you to, because I ask this question a lot to people, what does success mean to you? And they're like, oh, to be wealthy. I'm like, okay, what does that mean?
So that's a vague statement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
live in a van down by the river, or mansion on the beach, right? Like, what does wealth mean? So really taking that down to a granular level, and just to give some categories, because I love like assessments and categorizing and 1 to 10 kind of things. Like there's successful health and relationship and finance and mission and vision and your spiritual. Like, what's a
Mhm.
successful spiritual, area of your life look like? Is that prayer? Is that meditation? Okay. How often? How long?
Yeah.
Because the
Yeah.
the more clear, as a coach with my clients, like my main goal is to get them ultra clear on what it is that they need to do every single day to get them to their goals, right? So yeah, it may sound like, what about this and what about this and what time and when we're going to do it? Because if you leave wiggle room in there, our brain starts to negotiate. I'll do that tomorrow, right? I'll do
Oh, yeah.
that after dinner. Nothing productive happens after dinner, right?
Definitely not.
That's why I flip my day. That's why I get up at 3 in the morning, right? So I can have that productive part of my time before anybody wakes up. After dinner, it's like get the kid, like my 2 year old and I go to bed at the same time. Like nothing happens. Nothing happens after that. So
That's funny. Yeah.
understand what your definition of success is. I'll let you weigh in.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think we have a lot of societal pressures around is it keeping up with the Joneses, and the fact that social media is fantastic. It's a great There's a lot of great things about it, but a negative about that is you're seeing the highlight reel of everyone's life. So you just see people living the successful life and you don't get to see all the ups and downs in betweens, that's not on the highlight reel. So I think I definitely came to grips with my what like defining success. I would say last year was probably a kind of a pivotal moment for me with that, in relation to the fact that I've been in real estate over 10 years, so having built a successful real estate business, but having the passion to want to publish my book and having to work through those emotions of, okay, well, I've worked so hard to build my business, this feels like I feel guilty wanting to pursue this other passion. And then I had to stop and think, okay, now wait a minute, like there's nothing wrong with wanting to make X amount of money and close this many sales, but what do I really want deep down versus what is the industry telling me
Yeah.
I should want to pursue?
Yeah.
So,
So I talked to, may mention in our talk, I studied like tens of thousands of high performers and specifically like 40,000 real estate agents, right? And just to kind of understand what they're struggling with, what their problems are, and
mhm.
really, when you would ask them what success, I feel like most people just get into the grind of things, this hustle and grind. We call it hustle porn. It's like it just feels good, like we're getting all motivated and jazzed up. And I don't want to name drop
Yeah,
anybody, but you know who I'm talking about. And then you're
yeah,
like, wait a minute, my relationship is struggling, my health is struggling, my kids are struggling. There's these other areas that I can't remember the last time I went fishing or golfing or whatever your thing is, because
hmm,
you've made that like the purpose of achieving success. And I asked, like, for what, right? I want to
yeah,
I want to prosper so that I can spend time with my wife and my family and do those other things, right? So anyway, define what success looks like for you, And then I like doing it in stages. I don't like going 5 years out. I know some people have like a 10-year plan. I don't know about you, but my life has went upside down more ways than I can, in 5 years, like give me a break. That's too far.
Yeah,
So
definitely hard to
I like to do
plan.
it like year, like overall big arching goals, okay. But the tighter the timeline, the more specific we have to get, right? So if you want to lose
Yeah,
10 pounds in, 6 months or whatever it is, then chunking that down into measurable action plan, which is kind of what that next step
yeah,
is once you have a specific goal, now I understand what skills do I need, right? So if you want to grow your business, let's say you're earning $75,000 and you want to earn six figures, okay, that's $25,000. Anyone can do the math, but what does that mean? Where do you
yeah.
get your
What's
money?
the
Where
path
does your money come
there?
from? Is it calls? How many calls do you have to do? How many emails do you have to do? Like really breaking it down, because I want, especially my clients, I don't want you to wake up guessing. I want you to know exactly what you need to do to get to that goal, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, if you don't have clarity, you're just gonna be aimlessly wandering towards your goal
Yeah, and you'll just
instead
go
of
into
like,
default programming. You'll just go into whatever you've done or whatever you've seen around you, and again, that gets us into those struggles, right?
yeah, that's a good point though too, because what we talked about earlier with your belief system, often in life, we do get busy, things happen, and we are gonna naturally default back to our habits, behaviors, belief systems. So that's another layer of it. As you work through these things and you do change that belief system, start to have a more positive mindset now, that where that more naturally comes to you as you practice that over time. I think that does help, because in those moments of trial and tribulation, you'll be able to fall back on the belief system that you've worked hard, that foundation, I guess, is a good word for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I'll give you one silly example. I am a recovering road rager, right? I used to be a lunatic behind the wheel, like swearing at people, going northbound, I'm going southbound, like just just an idiot, right? And so I started this whole like process going, okay, I'm only gonna blow the horn. Like I gave myself a limit. It's like three
Yeah.
times a day. You can only, like, sometimes I would blow the horn three times by 8 a.m. Right. So then I can't do it anymore. So just this very silly example of how that process works, and you can use that for weight, you can use that for health, you can use that for relationships. Like, what does a successful marriage look like to you?
Hmm.
Is it conversations over dinner? What's your sex life look like? What do you talk about? Like, if you
Yeah.
if you one clarify that with yourself, then, and this is really cool, you can have that conversation with your significant other going, hey, my goal is to have a deep, loving, connecting relationship with you. Is that your goal? And they say yes. Okay, here's what that looks like to me. Tick, 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 tick.
Yeah.
What does that look like to you? Tick, 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 tick. And then the
Yeah.
things
And
that
you're
you
having a
have in
real
common.
conversation.
Yeah, the things that you have in common, now we double down on. But,
Yeah.
with, especially, and this is from the man's perspective. So, uh, I don't know what my wife is thinking, and I don't want to guess. So I just ask, hey, if it was a successful date night, what would that look like? And let her
Hmm.
tell me. And then here's the kicker: do what she says. It's like a successful date.
Happy wife, happy life.
Yeah, just do that because I want to make her happy. Like, that's the goal, right? And one of
Yeah.
my favorite Jim Rohn quotes, and then we can move on, is "I will work on me for you. You work on you for me."
Mm.
It's not me
Yeah.
about and trying to fix her or change her or anything. Like, I don't have that power. I can change myself. I can model what I want. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a ripple effect through your
yeah,
relationships as you better yourself. Yeah.
for sure.
Okay. So let's get to the T
T.
in but.
So We've been talking a lot of philosophy and, a lot of like, what can be considered woo woo, I guess, in some circles. But, all that isn't worth the paper or the meme or anything else until we put it into some action. So the take is it's take responsibility. Number one, you're responsible where you are in your life, even with your circumstances, even with all those bad things that happen to you. You're still responsible for your happiness. And this
Mm-hmm.
shows up like, she made me mad. She made me mad is not taking responsibility. Taking responsibility is, this is how I reacted. That's two totally different places. Maybe
Yeah.
it's maturity or whatever, but no one made you mad. You chose to do that. I know that sounds harsh, but it's the reality, right? So taking responsibility. The cavalry's not coming. No one's coming to save you. You don't need saving, number one. Number two, it's not coming. I love Alicia Keys, and one of her quotes that I absolutely love is, you can pray to catch the bus, but you had better run. And that's taking
Yeah.
responsibility. Do we need hope? Do we need prayers? Yes, absolutely. But you better move your ass. You'd better do
Yeah.
those things. So take responsibility, take control. A huge part is understanding what we have control of. And I do this when I do events. I usually ask the room, I'm saying, hey, give me the things that you complain about, that stress you out, that make you angry. I said, just blurt them out. And I get weather, I get taxes, I get people on the highways, I get all kinds of things, right? And then I say, what are you 100% in control of? Your thoughts, your feelings, your actions. Thoughts, feelings,
Yeah.
actions, right? Where is taxes and people not using their blinkers, right? That's out of your control. And I'm amazed. I mean, not amazed, but in my own life, it's like I would use so much of my resources going toward things that I couldn't control. And so just that little shift lets you kind of, there are bad drivers. There are people
There
that,
will always be
there
bad
will always
drivers.
be bad drivers. There will always be narcissistic people. There'll always be difficult conversations, right? So, like, I'm not saying just like throw your hands up and Jesus take the wheel, but I am saying give yourself some grace, like on the priority list. Let's work on ourselves, and then all that other
Yeah.
stuff will kind of go away, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think from my experience, what I also discovered when I started implementing that perspective of like what's in my control, what's out of my control, is it really lessened my anxiety. I have a history of struggling with anxiety, and just that layer of like worrying about what other people are going to do, going to say, going to think,
Mm,
all that stuff again that we can't control. It just caused this, it's like a hamster on a wheel, like it never stops. So by flipping that perspective and realizing, okay, I cannot control that other person, what they think, what they feel, their actions, I can only control my own. It helps lessen that level of anxiety for me.
yeah. So I'll give you a filter. I love running things through filter. So situation comes up. Let's pick something. What's the last thing that made you angry, Brittany? Let's do this in real time. Let's see if this works.
Let's see. I had a contract cancel, and
Okay.
for a legitimate reason, and the agent took out his anger on me when I
Aha.
told him we had
Okay.
to.
So there's probably multiples in there, but let's go with contract was canceled. Okay. Now
Mhm.
here's the filter. Is this within my control? Is this a thought, feeling, or action for you? The answer is no. Right.
No.
The next one is, can I influence this in any way? Contract's already canceled. Probably not anything you can do about it. You can't influence it anyway. Maybe you could say, hey, we'll try better next time or whatever it is, but it's pretty much done. So that pushes it to the this is out of my control category. And the
Mhm.
final step to that is asking the question, what is my next right action? So once you run it through
Yeah.
this filter and you ask yourself, what's my next right action? Not from the frustrated person that just got their contract canceled, but from this person that you envision yourself, this higher, better version of you. what do they do right now, right? It would
Mm-hmm.
probably sound something like, push that aside, go back to my checklist, or engage with another client, or follow up, or write the contract, or search the MLS, or some kind of productive action that you can do. It could be take a breath. It could be journal.
Yeah.
It could take a shot of tequila. I don't know what your coping mechanism is, but what is my next right action that will serve you? That'll serve you. So yeah,
Mm,
that filter can work. But
I like that.
if you're just starting out, I'm going to ask you two more questions. What could I stop doing right now that would help me get to my goal? And what could I
Mm-hmm.
start doing to help me get to my goal? As high performers, we all immediately default to, what do I need to do? And extraordinarily a lot of the time, if you stopped doing something, which is a lot easier, it's got to be, right? Right?
Yeah.
For me, it was stop eating the ice cream before bed. Right? I want to get in better. I want to get in better shape. I want to get a gym membership. I'm going to start flipping tires. I'm going to buy the shoes and get the wardrobe and the creatine and all the things. When I could have just stopped eating the damn ice cream before bed, that would have gave me a better head
A
start,
boost.
right?
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
just those two questions, I think, is a really, really, really good place for you to start if you're looking for what actions to take or to stop doing.
Yeah, I would identify myself as like a high achiever type personality. So I do tend to go to that side of things of like, okay, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? But to slow down and think about what are the things I need to stop doing that
Mm,
are sucking up time and energy that are not helping me move forward in the direction I want to go. So being
yeah.
slowing down enough to think through that stuff is
Well,
important.
the hard part with that, and not to derail the conversation, but as high performers and having that mode, that comes through in your sales language. And so a lot of times it's very obvious what this person needs to do to solve the problem that they have. And so
Mhm.
our A type, do this, get this result, kicks in, and we try to give them the solution. Belief, you know,
Yeah,
the that side of things, it has to be done first, right?
yeah,
Because it's very obvious. What, you're fat and lazy and you hadn't been into a gym, like that. I'm not saying that out loud, let's be clear, but that obvious
yeah,
of course, stop eating the ice cream. It's not obvious to them,
yeah.
right? So anyway.
Mm. Yeah, no, I mean having grace for someone else when
Whew.
they're going through that to help them along that journey to get to where I guess what I'm thinking of like, we being able to serve someone really well because you used to be that way, whatever that problem is that they're dealing with, maybe you are helping someone going through a weight loss journey and you have already lost tons of weight. So you have all that learning, but they haven't gone through that journey yet.
Mm.
So giving grace to that person to help them walk through that journey versus just yelling at them, yeah, you need to do this, like move your butt.
Yeah. Well, I use this is old school, like 1940s. It's called feel, felt, found, find. Have you heard this?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
I have to program this in my brain because my default is, well, just do it. Just do this,
Yeah.
right? But I have to do, hey, I understand how you feel. Lots of other people have felt the same way. Here's what I've found to be true. And together we can
Yeah.
find a solution that best fits for both of us.
Yeah.
Because that emotional side, that touchy feely, vulnerable, icky, uncomfortable conversations, we'll skip by that. And that's the foundation of shift. That's the foundation of sales. That's the foundation of influence. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. My husband, if my husband were here, he would say that I do that to him. I'm like, just do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, no, I need to slow down, try to think about where he's coming from his perspective. Yeah.
Yeah. My wife has taught me so much because she is a very, if you've done the disc profile, she's a very high D, like off the charts D. It's What
Hmm.
time? How much is it going to cost? When can we leave? What do I need to wear? Let's go. And I'm
Yeah.
like this high I, which is talking about the feelings and the story and the backstory, and she's like, just shut up and tell me what I need to know.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, I feel like we could spend hours talking through this stuff. So I better not do that to my audience. And I love the acronym and the process that you take people through with the move your butt acronym, believe, understand, take, because it's really laying that foundation to be able to get people, changing really changing your identity and understanding what their definition of success and those things are, and then being able to find the right things to do to get to where they want to go. So, I mean, it's a very practical process, but you're getting to the heart of the issues with people.
Yeah. I love serving people. Like that was what was missing in my corporate career. It was more,
Hmm.
KPI driven and that sort of thing. And this midlife crisis or whatever, quarter life crisis at the time, it's like, no, serving people, like helping someone. When I hear a problem statement, like every fiber in my body says I need to try to help. Like I'm the adopt a million kittens, save everyone type of. Now I've built some systems to keep that at bay, but that's my initial reaction. And now I've found a place and built a business around really being able to see where someone's stuck and walk them through it so that they feel empowered and they're seeing the success and they can see the change when they look in the mirror. Like let's not kid ourselves. The
Yeah.
ultimate definition of success is how you speak to yourself when you're by yourself. So all the money and
Mm-hmm.
fame and fortune and trophies and accolades and all that stuff is you go to bed with yourself every night. And so
Yeah.
being able to play a small part in my clients and in my community and the audience, that gives me so much joy that I don't have the words to articulate it. So I'm just thankful to get the opportunity to speak to your audience. And yeah, if I can help in any way, reach out. You can follow on social media, or I don't know where you lead people to, but website, social media, all that stuff. Just follow along, and if I can help, don't suffer in silence. Just reach out.
Yeah. No, I love that. I definitely would love for you to share how people can best connect with you. What's your, if it's Instagram, what's your handle, website, all that
Sure.
good
Yeah.
details.
So Instagram and Facebook are the two social media platforms. It's Kelly underscore Moser underscore. Typically, if you just type in Kelly, I'm the guy. But there's also a
True.
website, kellymoser.com. Go there, spelunk around. You'll find, you can Google and pretty much find me. And again, reach out. I'm getting ready to do a post about a struggle in my own life with, being able to pray small prayers where that voice says, that's not big enough to ask God for. God's busy with wars and disease and
Mm,
cancer and all those other things. Like, you're going to pray about hoping your meeting goes well. Like, so that but in my own life is very, very real. And again, I don't know
yeah.
where exactly I was going with that, but that's just a glimpse into the life. So if you're struggling, uh, reach out. Most of the people that are in your circle want to help, I believe. And so I
Yeah.
would love to be that opportunity if you'd let me.
Yeah. Well, I think what the example you shared there is just, hey, we're all going through stuff. None of us have arrived. There's always going to be these limiting beliefs, that like when we make progress on one, there's another one kind of crops up. So we got to keep working on ourselves is the moral of that
Yeah,
story.
for sure. Yeah.
Well, Kelly, thank you so much for being on the show and just diving into your movement with Move Your Butt. Believe, understand, take. I love how practical it is. It's such a great foundation to help people really make a difference in their own lives. And then I think, when we take time to improve ourselves, become the best version of ourselves, it's a ripple effect and we can start help. helping other people around us. And I think, that's a way to make the world a better place. So I'm glad that you're on that mission and I'm on that mission too. So
Yeah, love it.
awesome. Well, thank you again, Kelly, and everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to reach out to Kelly on Instagram, check out his website, connect with him if you want to learn more about his coaching program and all the fun things. So we will catch you next time. Thanks. Bye, everybody.